regulation. And then when you talk about COP26 and how absent from the agenda is specifically conversation around nitrous oxide in spite of its evident toxicity, what does this suggest about global bodies of this nature, their efficacy, and even their intent?
I think both national governments and global bodies have undergone massive change during these 3 decades. 92 was the year when, because of the pressure of movements, the governments were forced to act, and the UN Earth Summit was organized at Rio. It's really movement pressure and indigenous peoples pressure, exactly the kind of pressure you saw on the streets of Copenhagen, but a much more coherent pressure. And they were forced to organize the Earth Summit, and the 2 legally binding treaties that came out of that were the Biodiversity Convention and the UN Framework Convention on Climate Change, and 2 very important legal principles that have been used all over the world. The precautionary principle, which is the basis for saying you don't really know the impact of GMOs, so you have to act with caution. You don't know the impact of geoengineering, so don't experiment with the whole planet's climate system, which is what Mr. Bill Gates is doing. At that point, and I was very active in the framing of these laws with my government, and that's why, because I think I was probably the only one at Rio talking about GMOs and biotechnology, because the 87 meeting where I'd been invited by the UN and other agencies, the Dag Hammarskjöld Foundation, they laid out and said, now we'll own the seed, we will patent the seed. And that's why I started seed saving from 87 onwards. But I also started to follow GMOs. I started to follow international organizations, the GATT, which became the WTO. And I worked with my government, and my government was a sovereign government because we didn't have globalization then. We didn't have the global corporations inside our country. We didn't have the Monsantos here with their lobbyists. We didn't have the global fossil fuel industry. We were sovereign. We had fought for independence and became independent. But that was the history of most of the world. What was globalization? Globalization was basically deregulating, destroying sovereignty, creating the rule of corporations. And that's the reason many of us who were looking at the GATT, I was looking at it from the point of view of patents, intellectual property rights, agriculture. Others were looking at it from the perspective of privatization of water. And we got together and created an amazing organization that I think had very important historic impact, the International Forum on Globalization. And we said, if we do not get together to tell the story of globalization, then they will fib and say, oh, India became rich, just because a few software engineers were taken to Silicon Valley. And the real story won't be told. We got together and we stopped the World Trade Organization in Seattle. People and governments acting together. We said, this is really a commodification of the world. We said, our world is not for sale. And we stopped WTO. And it was interesting. Immediately, the Commerce Secretary of US wrote an article in the Herald Tribune. Anti-globalization activists are terrorists. And from that time onwards, new attacks started on democracy. A young man was killed in Genova. And these are histories that we need to remember, that there has been a shift in the role of governments, which were of the people, by the people, for the people, with their corruption. I'm not saying they were pure, corrupt, but the corruption was limited because the power of money was limited. The mining money was very little compared to the money of the Monsantos. Now you have governments that are of the corporations, by the corporations, and for the corporations.